Now after the coffee break, we are starting with Colin McLean from Novelty University.
Good morning, everybody. First of all, if I could just introduce myself, my name is Colin McLean. I'm a lecturer from Novelty University in Dundee in Scotland. You could probably tell I've got a slight Scottish accent. I've been a lecturer for 24 years. This is my 25th year. My degree and background is in engineering, and in 24 years I've taught mechanical engineering, robotics, mechatronics, computer programming, computer networking, and now ethical hacking. So it shows I get quite bored and go into something else. I suppose my claim to fame is that I developed the first undergrad degree in ethical hacking way back in 2006. At that point, there was a lot of publicity in the UK over a degree called ethical hacking, and one of the tabloid newspapers gave me the handle of Dr. Hacker, so I've kept that as my Twitter handle if you want to follow me. Novelty University is a very, very small university, 5,000 students. We're known for vocational courses, and we were actually the first university to develop an MSc in computer games technology. The developer of Lemmings was a student at Novelty when he developed Lemmings, and he then went on to develop Grand Theft Auto. So it is that kind of university that we do very vocational things. Dundee is a small city, far away from most of the infosec action in the UK. We're way up north, up here, and most of the security companies are way down south. London's 585 kilometres. So most of it is down there. However, our graduates are very popular with security companies. I've mentioned there some of the companies that our graduates have been working for. NCC Group, KPMG, Cigital, PwC, etc., etc. So most of the big security companies in the UK have got an Novelty graduate there. And many of the companies have got more than one. And a good example is NCC, who I believe are the largest security testing company in Europe, have now got 10 Novelty graduates working for them. So basically, Novelty has a good reputation among security companies, certainly in the UK, and we're producing graduates with roughly the correct attributes. Most of my students will have job offers before the time they graduate. Last year, one of the guys had 5 job offers in February, and he graduated in June. So our students are very popular. We now have 150 plus students, which is quite a large number for such a small university, and we have got many English students, so our reputation has grown throughout England. English students have to pay in Scotland. Scottish students get it for free, so it shows something that they're coming up to Scotland to do our degree. So a lot has gone right at Novelty, a lot to do with luck, judgment, and certainly other people, and I'll be mentioning other people during the talk. There is definitely much room for improvement, but we're certainly doing something right. So, the agenda today, number one, the extent of the problem. Then I'm going to look at academic courses. Are we producing the right courses? Producing graduates with the right attributes? Then I want to look at some things that have happened at Novelty and their knock-on effects. There are certain things that have happened that I didn't really realise would have such big knock-on effects. And also attracting people. How can we attract people into information security? Further initiatives that we're looking at to attract people onto our course. And throughout I'll be giving bits and bobs of advice based on the experience of the last 8 years. So first of all, the skills gap. What is the actual scale of the skills gap? There is a lot of talk about it. I've got some quotes in here that really mention how few people are out there. First of all, Mark Weatherford, Department of Homeland Security, and a similar comment from the UK National Audit Office that they just can't find people to hire. A good quote at the bottom there from Howard Tipton, the demand is 12 times the rate of the overall job market. Turn it into figures. I do like figures, and I found this ISC Squared report, and these figures are from 2012 Q4. That's the total number of people working in InfoSec in the world, 2.87 million, and the estimated demand for 2017 is 4.9 million. Europe needs approximately 200,000 security people in the next 2 or 3 years, so a huge number. This is a prediction that came out, I think it was last week, that by 2017 in the world we will be 2 million people short. So it's a serious, serious problem. Serious problem for companies trying to get people in. So what are the options for a company? I just drew this rough diagram of where a company can get skills from. There's 2 at the bottom that I'm really not going to go into too much depth. I think the area is so vast I had to cut it down slightly. But we have existing staff, maybe networking staff or somebody who works within the company, and there's a training option with them, and also someone who might seem to have the right attributes to get into InfoSec, might have the right frame of mind. Training is obviously involved in that as well. But I suppose the largest area for companies is schools through college or university and grabbing hold of graduates at the end with the correct skills. Finding lots of degrees are appearing throughout the world. Because of the shortage, we're seeing so many different degrees. A quote here that 98 degrees in the UK have a cybersecurity element, 40 to 50 MSCs. Similar throughout Europe. When you look online, there are many, many MSCs coming online. So you think we're on our way, we're producing the right courses with the right titles. Well, some courses are excellent. I know some academics throughout Europe, some throughout the USA as well, are producing excellent graduates. However, these are common comments that I hear on Twitter, other social media, and I pulled some of these quotes from Cybersecurity Jobs site. Part of the problem is that the graduates just don't have the correct attributes. We're producing graduates who are perhaps a little bit too steeped in academia, maybe a bit too theoretical. The practical skills just aren't being taught. The courses are okay, but they aren't just quite right. The students don't have the reality of the stuff that comes up in real life. And of course, academics like myself being defensive, we say, well, that's not really our fault. You guys produce the skill set at the end of it. So we've got into a bit of a blame game where academics like myself, we traditionally produce theoretical courses. That is what we do. We teach encryption, we teach computer science, we teach all these things. So it's really not what we're doing. And companies are blaming academics, saying, you're producing the wrong product. It's taken us a couple of years to take our graduate, get them up to speed before they can actually be useful for the company. So we've got to this stage that both sides are essentially saying it isn't our fault. Looking at the jobs that we really need to fill, and I came up with just some ideas in here. There are obviously many more types of jobs. But these are the type of jobs that I know my graduates are being involved in. Web application security problems, coding problems, malware attacks, system problems, denial of service, vulnerabilities, things like risk analysis, and also many of them are involved in security testing as pen testers. There are many, many vocational jobs out there. Now, what the percentage is really doesn't matter in this case, I don't think. There are vocational jobs out there, and there are lots of them. Taking the actual job titles in here as well, jobs to be filled. People are working in networking, systems, they're developing either websites or code, offensive security, forensic responders. Again, many of them are vocational. So these people are applying existing knowledge to a problem to make things better. They're not reinventing things, they're actually applying existing knowledge. Just as a sideline, I thought I'd mention this as well. It's something that I won't be covering either, but certainly softer skills will be required as well. And it's something, certainly in the UK, I've seen very few people trying to solve the problem of the softer skills. So vocational against theoretical. Theoretical courses are certainly required, and I think they're largely being addressed. Most of the masters that I look at are in information security management and very much theoretical courses rather than practical. And obviously, theoretical has the potential to save the world. If we can develop systems that are inherently secure, that we can't break ourselves, then we're fixed. However, vocational graduates are most certainly required because theoretical solutions are just not being adopted or not being adopted correctly. A good example, SQL injection, first example I could find was 1999. So 15 years ago, people were injecting code, and 2014 OWASP A1 is code injection. So to me, it shows that these solutions that are out there are not being adopted. So we need vocational graduates that can adopt all these solutions. So we need more vocational courses, and we need better vocational courses as well. I'm not quite convinced that that's been addressed as well as the theoretical courses. So what kind of skills are required from a vocational degree? And I did a very quick requirements analysis of the types of skills that my graduates are required. And I've separated them into 3 different sections. Number 1, the academic stuff, the things that we're good at as academics, core technical knowledge, programming, TCP/IP, all that, and the core practical skills, being able to code, etc., etc. And of course, documentation that academics are traditionally quite good at. But also the company skills that people have told me, the problem is graduates don't have these attributes. Number 1 is business appreciation, having an idea about business, and also real practical skills, the practical skills that go on in a company. Also business documentation, so there's the company side in there as well. And there's the others, this je ne sais quoi that everybody talks about, that we need a hacker to be able to think out of the box. So these are attributes that we want from our graduates as well. And also a criminal mindset. If we're to secure something, we have to be able to think like the criminal. How do we teach these types of things? And you have to remember, some of these attributes are quite unusual for a technical subject. I told you I've taught so many different subject areas. Never in the past have I had to think about a criminal mindset. So a technical subject, we're not used to trying to produce people who are perhaps think out of the box is another one, but certainly criminal mindset is nothing that academics are used to doing. So to me, perhaps this is a problem for academics. How do we get these attributes into our graduates? In my opinion, these can be catered for during a degree. Not just lectures and tutorials. And I think academics tend to think of lectures and tutorials, but what I would say has happened at Abertay are these other attributes are being catered for by other things. For example, assessments, but also extracurricular activities, which I'll mention in a minute. Company involvement to me is essential. External speakers, etc., that I'll mention right now. So the Abertay experience, so this is 8 years we have been going. I thought I'd just mention some of the features of the course and some of the things that have happened and their knock-on effect, and hopefully should be beneficial to companies who are looking to employ people as well as any academics out there. Number 1, how did it all start? Well, way back in 2005, I was involved in a government-funded project with NCR. Quite lucky, NCR Research and Development is in Dundee in Scotland. And we were involved in a risk analysis of an NCR ATM. Excellent for me being involved so early in the first risk analysis of an ATM. Great knowledge for me to begin with. However, I think the real part came where Jim said to me, it would be great if we had some graduates who actually knew all this stuff. They could actually do it. And the key point of this is, number 1, industry driven. So he put the idea into my mind that we needed graduates with all these types of skills. So that to me was a major factor in the course, and since then it's been a major factor right the way throughout the course. I've had a number of NCR student projects. I've had a second government funded project with them as well, which was a 3-year one, but student projects which I'm not allowed to mention. However, I think it would be fair to say that our students have guided some of the policies within NCR. So NCR have got something back in here as well. But great knowledge for me, great knowledge experience for my students as well. Also, other companies have been highly involved in my course. First Base Techies, a very small company from Sussex. Some of you will know Pete Wood. I think you may have talked at DeepSec before. Pete Wood's given a lot of guidance, talks. He gave me free training, 5 days of free training down in Sussex, learning how to do a pen test. And that has guided and moulded the content of my degree, as have people like Cigital. Cigital talks, workshops, sponsorship as well. I'll mention that in a minute. I got an email yesterday from Cigital offering me free software. We have this software that we'll give you for nothing. Students, they always do that. Cigital have employed 2 of our graduates. First Base have employed 2 of our graduates as well. So certainly as far as companies like First Base, the skills gap doesn't exist, because they come to Abertay, they've moulded my course, so the graduate attributes are what First Base are after, and the knowledge is what they're after. The same with NCC, they have guided, moulded me probably, like a puppet, made sure that the content of our course is suitable for NCC group. Many more companies have been involved in as well. So it's not just 1, not 2, 3, 4. All these companies have been up at Abertay at one point or another and done talks. Mandalorian, Steve Lord came up, did a 1-day workshop with the students, knowledge for me, experience for the students, and then of course in the bar afterwards, lots of chat about InfoSec, lots of guidance from all these guys as well. So it's not just the technical content that my students get. I think it's the business aspect and all the additional things. Now in fact, the last 2 years we've had an ethical hacking company contact week for our final year students, where all week it's talks, workshops, etc. by companies. So these companies are getting a chance to meet my students and hopefully offer them jobs at the end of it. We also have a lot of ex-students who come back as well, which is excellent. Great experience from them, lots of guidance and lots of tips. And some of you who were here last year may recognise the first 2 people there. Phoenix, Aaron Finnan, is an ex-Abertay student, and he's come back to Abertay and gives talks. The second person, Gavin Ewan there. Gavin, I think, was talking at DeepSec last year, Jacobite Rebel. So he's come back to Abertay and given talks as well. Also guys there like Nick Walker, who talked at BrewCon, etc. So these guys come back. It makes a huge difference having graduates who have been through the course and they can guide and help my current students. So it's a major contribution. Other people really have made a major contribution to it. Free knowledge for us, essentially, and adds this reality. And I believe that graduates are equipped better for the real world because of this external factor. And also, the companies are getting a better product. They are getting roughly what they want at the end of it. Very briefly look at the course. I don't want to go into too much depth. The point I want to make, our course is themed, programming, computer networking, and ethical hacking / security. That came from a way back from NCR's influence and First Base influence in the course. What would you like from a graduate? Well, we would like a graduate that could do these. First 2 years of the course are very basics and concepts orientated. Very important that our students can program basic computer science. And we are lucky that we've got 4-year honours degrees in Scotland. Everybody else is 3. So we've got 4 years to work with the students. Modules that we do, generally me, are pen testing techniques, pen testing itself, looking at the documentation, the way a pen test is managed, web application testing, exploit development, forensic computing. And much of that material has been gained from companies who have talked with me, given me material, and they have, as I said, have guided the course. Some points, there has been a lot of resistance from both academics and people, geeks, let's say, us geeks, who don't like the term ethical hacking. 2 years from now, we'll be 2 million people short in InfoSec. We have to use marketing terms. So I've got no issue with using marketing terms. Ethical hacking is a marketing term. So the use of the word cyber will be exactly the same if people put up a cyber something degree. So it is marketing, so please don't be too down on academics or people that use the word cyber. Also, offensive security. Many of the modules I teach are actually offensive. And I think it really helps to get into the mindset that we try and break things. Number one, the students really get into breaking things. It's so much more enjoyable breaking it and then spending the last little bit mending it and fixing it. But there is a general fear of teaching this kind of stuff. I've got a friend who's an academic in the US who wanted to set up a degree in ethical hacking, and his governors told him, no, you can't do that because of the reputation. We need to know what criminals are doing before we fix it. So we must somehow overcome this. So would I say we need more degrees like Abertay's? Well, I would say yes. Same but different. I would like companies to mould contents of degrees. So if your company wants a graduate in, for example, secure web development, or you're a mobile phone company, approach academics, get them involved, give them training, give them advice, etc. And you should be able to, I would reckon, mould the content of a degree to get the attributes that you want. So really, I feel vocational degrees should be much more industry-driven. I certainly have a culture of student-centred learning, and a couple of my colleagues agree with this as well. That I think as a hacker, you learn more by doing a project yourself rather than sitting an exam on encryption methods. So I get my students to do project work throughout the modules. Some of them are, I suppose, student-led, so the student can choose any project. Other areas, they're driven in a certain area. For example, exploit development projects, the student chooses within that area. And I do believe they learn a lot more by doing the projects themselves. I think it's very important that my students do different projects. I don't like to see 10 students all doing the same thing, or I'll end up with 10 times the same thing coming to me. So, but I do believe it's very important for the skill sets. To academics out there, let students loose. And I know that's quite dangerous saying that. Students are renowned for going off the handle when we let them loose. But these young people need, well, they have lots of ideas. Let's get them to do things with their ideas. Encourage them. And I think it's one thing I am quite good at, is encouraging students to go and conquer the world. You let them do their own things, build their own brand. And I've already mentioned Phoenix. Most of you know Phoenix. That's a brand created at Abertay. Jacobite Rebel was a brand created. And there are a number of students who have created their own brand and their own publicity. It's publicity for university. It's publicity that hopefully gets students into Abertay as well. Good example is Abertay Ethical Hacking Society that some of you will know. The students meet. I have never been to an Ethical Hacking Society meeting, and that's in probably 5 years. I'm not getting involved. It's the students that do all this. Students do talks in whatever area, and the reason I put all these up is really all the different names. Many, many different students will get involved. So lots and lots of different names in there. That has led to our students being quite confident public speakers. And throughout the years, these are students who have talked while they were undergraduate students. We're not talking about postgraduate students or ex-students. You look at some of the cons there, BrewCon, B-Size London, GIRCon, B-Size London, B-Size Lisbon, Manchester, rookie tracks as well. think it's excellent that we're getting rookie tracks at a lot of these B-size events. One of our students actually was voted the best speaker at B-size London, rookie track, and he's sitting at the back there, don't know where he is. And his prize was to come here. It is now a culture that we share information, we go to these events, we have fun, but there's a lot of learning in there as well. Our students definitely travel. B-size London last year, 580 odd kilometres. There were over 20 of our students there, I think around about 25, and 15 of our graduates there as well. So they go, they party, they learn, and they get this business extra part just by doing this. They've been all over, and for those of you that are going to B-size Vienna on Saturday, I know that there are 8 of our students arriving for that, and 4 ex-students there as well. So you may see the Abertay hoodies there as well. From all this, we started our own conference. Started very small. Last year, 150 plus people at Security Conference. All student-led. I don't do anything. It has nothing to do with the university. The students do all this. It is the largest InfoSec conference in Scotland, and it's been created by the students. The effects of all this, great for the students. For their CV material, for their knowledge, excellent. But also, attracting people has been excellent as well. Publicity for the university has been huge. We're on television, radio, newspapers, etc. And we have had school kids coming to Security. And Security is a conference like this. Can you imagine how many school kids would want to come to this? Not too many. But at Security, there are, because we want them to come, and it has attracted people. What has been excellent as well, and again, many of these things I didn't think of, has been contacts, knowledge exchange between other universities. Our students are in contact with certainly Leeds Beckett. That's a picture of me with 5 Leeds Beckett students, used to be Leeds Metropolitan University students. So the exchange between all these is excellent, with the help of guys like Robin Wood in the middle of all this, helping all these people to exchange knowledge. One area that we have tried extremely hard with is women in security, because it's largely untapped, and we are quite lucky that we make use of the female role models. One of my colleagues, Natalie Kuhl, has done a lot trying to attract people into the industry, and last year Jill Chalmers was the president of the Ethical Hacking Society, so she appeared on television and radio, etc., being interviewed. It has made some effect. We have had an increase in female students, not nearly as many as I would have liked, but we have had students visiting schools, and we try to make sure that a female is involved in that at all time. Women in Science Days, and we also have female ambassadors. This picture at the bottom here is obviously Javad Malik, but the person on the left is a girl called Wendy McLean. That's my daughter. She's a student ambassador. So one way to solve the skills gap is all have children and get them to do information security. It's a thought, isn't it? But I think everybody has to do work to solve this problem. 2 million people is a lot of people. We need to filter it down to schools as well. I think academia is something that we're trying to do much more in. Trying to filter down some knowledge to academia, trying to get them aware of the discipline, and to recommend to their students to do information security. Businesses could play a role in this as well, by visiting schools and trying to get them interested. School visits have been excellent for us, and we have used our students to go to schools, to do talks on what they're doing and about a career in the area. In the past, one school I can recall, we sent out 2 students, 1 female, 1 male. The year after, we got 5 applications from that school for our ethical hacking degree. So it certainly proves that it's possible. If we enthuse school kids, then they will get interested. Another couple of things that we've done a little bit of, and we would like to do a bit more, is training teachers. Try to get the teachers, give them more knowledge. Recently we did a workshop for school teachers in Raspberry Pis. We also did one program in Python. Just things like that with a security element in them that will get these school teachers enthusiastic. Just at the end, some general advice and thoughts for companies and academics. And I am generalizing a lot here. I try not to generalize, but I think in this case, it is difficult not to. But certainly to academics, or some academics, we're often not producing the right product. There's certainly scope for more vocational courses. So we need to try and change them. And academics generally don't have these skills. Many of us have either not worked in the industry or not worked in the industry for a long time. So we need these skills. So asking for skills, generally it works. I find every company I've approached has been extremely keen. To companies, you need us. You really do need us. So you need us to make your product better. You are not, in general, some companies are not approaching academia. I would suggest approach academia, approach your local university college and try and influence them. I don't know any of my colleagues that would not be receptive to that. They would be extremely keen for companies to come in and help. To some academics, vocational can be academic. Don't think it's because it's vocational, it means it's a technical college course. It isn't. It's not a diploma type. I've mentioned some of my honours project students' titles. Words like methodology, taxonomy, crypto, risk analysis, software development. That is the thrust of the project, but in the main part, there is a skills-based section or a research-based section that is vocational. So the actual work in the middle can be vocational, and the academic part round about it can include literature, research, discussion, all that type of thing. So we can have vocational. To some companies, and I've recently had a fairly heated argument with a company on social media, who seem to think that to get my graduates, they send me an email and saying, look at this great deal. You send us all your best graduates and we'll give them 6 months, a year training, blah, 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 we'll give them all this. My first reaction is, what am I getting out of this? You know, that's analogous to me coming to your company and saying, could you do this, that, to my benefit, but you're getting nothing. So that's not going to happen. So if you want graduates from a company, from a university, offer them something, offer them training, offer them advice, offer them honest project work, and you can help them out. So all these different things, you should be offering academic things as well. Also to companies, don't expect graduates to be experts the day they start. A degree, an MSc, is a general, broad degree, so it must be generic, lifelong. It is not training, so don't expect that. Academia, the final part, I think we must make an attempt to make graduates billable as early as possible. And perhaps one of the best quotes that somebody has given about the Abertay ethical hacking course is Ollie Whitehouse of NCC, who said, why would we go elsewhere when we can go to Abertay and the graduates are billable in a few months? And that to me is the best quote I've ever heard about Abertay. And it says really what we're all about. Anyway, thanks for inviting me. Thanks for listening. I'm a little bit deaf, so.
Thank you, Colin McLean.
Okay.
Questions?
Hello, thank you.
Okay.
It's a question/remark. You said that you don't expect the graduates to be experts, and that's fine. For me, I would like to someone that can also teach himself as he continues on. So as a company, yes, I will teach him what I need him to know for his work.
Yeah.
But I still will need him to, carry on studying, looking on, and those kind of things.
That's really, I mentioned about the project work during the degree. That to me is the research part. Our students do research from year 1 to year 4. So the project work, to me, helps them build up these research skills, experimentation skills, so that they can build up a system themselves. I'm not building it up for them to break, they build it up. They break it, fix it. So that to me is, brings in these attributes for the course.
Anyone else?
I'm a small employer, and I had a moment of clarity recently, and this is really just for the English curriculum. I was struggling to find apprentices just to fill sort of lowish level roles and to learn with the business, and realised that within the English system, and I don't know what the Scottish or any of the other European comprehensive type educations, ICT simply was not taught as I understood ICT. Working in an IT company, you understand ICT being programming, computer fundamentals, maybe even a bit of chip design, etc. Yeah. However, I found from working within a school and also becoming a governor of a school that actually that's not what happened at all, and there's a fundamental disconnect, or was until very recently a fundamental disconnect with what was taught to the lower level students. And now these guys were learning ICT, but they were learning how to use Microsoft Office, yep, and not how to do any coding. Yeah. And that fundamental disconnect, I understand, has just been solved because in this curriculum year, I think is the first time, possibly ever, possibly for a long time, that software development, for example, is a core part of the curriculum. Yep. And that in itself provides a very strong basis for any of these future skills. And so it's just really a comment, so anyone who works in the UK is aware that hopefully things will change in a few years. Yeah, we certainly found that teachers have said this, we don't know this stuff, can you help us? So that's why we're running courses to help them, because you're right, we're finding people who are doing computing qualifications in the UK at school are doing word processing or spreadsheets. Definitely. Definitely. But is this knowledge transfer that we really have to get the knowledge transfer all the way around, from business to academia down to schools. Everyone has to transfer knowledge. Because at the moment it's not. Yeah. Yes, you've got to agenda that. Yeah. Agenda that, they've got to understand what of course. What is possible in the first place. Yep.
Okay, we have time for 2 more.
Okay.
Hi, I used to work for Cigital, so I'm quite interested in you talking about Cigital right there.
Yeah.
And one of the things I noticed was the new people who came into Cigital lacked consulting skills, and I noticed you touched upon it right there. Yeah. What are you planning to do to beef up the consulting skills, the soft skills? That's the one thing that's a huge deficit out there.
Yep. We've got a lot of input from Cigital. First person is Paco Hope, who talks to students, security every year. Paco talks. I got an email last night from Cigital, actually, from someone who wants to come and demonstrate some software. So yeah, it'd be nice to speak to people and say, whatever skills you think our graduates are missing, then go for it. We're quite happy for Cigital to come in and help.
Are you thinking things kind of an apprenticeship program?
No. And it really is a generic degree, but anything that Cigital can input into our course, then that's fine. When Cigital employed a couple of our graduates, I don't know if you know Grant Douglas, but he was employed virtually via Paco because Paco identified the skills. But we're quite happy for anyone to say, we don't have this, here's how you might be able to help us. Done?
Well, just another question. I think I was missing a little bit in your talk, or maybe I had the wrong expectations about security skills or information security skills in the general curriculum of a computer programming course or university courses about it. Because I wonder, you addressed the gap of information security specialists, but I wonder what you think what these guys will be doing. My provocative statement is that the vast amount of software will not be developed by them.
No.
They will be developed by the ordinary developers. So what about that?
Yeah, that's an issue. It is an issue. I now teach a module to web development students, so they're not ethical hacking students, and I teach them and try and implement skills in there. But I still feel that most universities, if you run a security stream, the lecturers will be teaching computing, programming, etc. So if the lecturers have more knowledge of that, then it's going to affect their teaching in these other modules as well. So I think it will have a knock-on effect for all courses in the university. But it is a problem. But it's back to this knowledge transfer that everyone developing all these, teaching all these development skills must know this and emphasize it. Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We are continuing with the next talk in a second.